of dawn, or yeah, I don't know whether it's just the longer you do this, the earlier this feels, or whether it's just that I went to bed late last night. I
Well,
don't really know.
with the
Yeah,
time change, it's been dark for like 11 hours at this point in the day. So,
Yes. Yeah, it's just dark. You rise in darkness. You go to finish work, go to bed in darkness. It's just darkness all around. Well, maybe that's Scotland for you. I mean, at least you were just telling me that you were taking your slippers off to put on your Crocs because you've got a mini heat wave over there.
yes, it's quite
Sounds
warm today.
sounds glorious.
I chose the wrong time of day to go on a run and instantly regretted it in the heat.
Cool. Well, how are you both? Ariel, are you well?
this job has taught me to realize something about time, and that is that there is no perfect time. No perfect time of day, no perfect hour of the time zone. It's
No perfect timekeeping, because even if it keeps time within 1 second a year, you're gonna have to change it by an hour twice a year.
Ripley's still in recovery from daylight savings.
I just feel like we need to remind people why humans created timekeeping and timepieces to begin with. And that is so we could all agree on at least one
Okay,
thing.
folks, this is going to be a really long show. Ariel's going right back to the beginning. Go on.
I could go even further back. I'm simply summing it up as we created timekeeping so that we could all have some constant that we agree on, because we agree on very, very little. Even if you find a few other individual folks out there that agree with you, finding enough people that agree with you is impossible. So timekeeping was supposed to be like, okay, everyone, let's just all agree. This is the thing that we're gonna this is time. We're gonna this is an hour, and this is noon, and this is what happens at this time of day, and we were okay with that. And now, India has a 30-minute time zone. I'm like, why?
It's all the Indians' fault. Is that
No,
what you're saying?
it's just like, and then we have daylight saving, and then we have people that really like their watches to be 20 minutes ahead or behind. I realized, what's the point?
There's a philosophical way to start the show. Is the root cause of all the world's current ills because we all decided we wanted to represent we don't want to do different things with time. We wanted to have daylight savings. We wanted to have a half-hour time zone. We wanted to set our watches slightly differently. We wanted to wear watches that didn't tell the time at all. We wanted not to actually set the watch. We wanted to use it as jewelry. That's just where civilization started to implode in itself,
Well,
and here we are.
If you can't agree on something as simple as time, I think everything else is going to be a bit of an uphill battle. So the sooner we can get rid of daylight savings, which apparently we all agree except you, Rick, that we should get rid of it.
I'm the holdout.
Yeah, there you go. There's always one.
It's just as well that I have all the power, and therefore what I say goes.
This is why consensus does not ever work. No one should be asked to agree.
That's it. I think benevolent dictatorship is definitively the way forward, and I should be in charge. But
no, that's still someone needing to agree. If we just base time on something constant, like we try to do, theoretically there can't have disagreements. Yet we still seem to find disagreements within that.
But then all that would happen is the French would try to decimalize it. We'd all agree on something, and then somebody would say, "You know what? It should really be in base 10. Let's go for that." Has anyone ever made a wristwatch that's in base 10?
Oh yes.
You remember? Don't make me start talking about Swatch and internet time or whatever the hell.
Yeah, that was successful.
Dear me. Right. Well, before we started recording, myself and Ripley were debating where this week's clapage should go, and we have decided unanimously, without consulting Ariel, because we know how much he loves these things in the first place, that this week's clapage should go to Phillips. It should go to Phillips.
Clapping is fine. It's the other game I don't like.
You don't like any of the games. Just you wait. We'll get onto the Sweetie game shortly. So the Phillips get the clapage. We maybe should explain. It's always good.
Please explain.
It's always good to explain what clapage is. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to the show, who have just become loyal listeners, we used to have to clap before we started recording in order to sync all the audio. And so it was a habit. And then the technology overtook us so that we didn't have to do that. But we enjoy clapping so much for this show, we thought we'd clap for something in an ironic sense. So this week's winner is Phillips for all sorts of reasons. The first one being for reselling a watch that they sold in 2016 and being so proud of it, as if they actually made the thing. Yeah, they sell a steel Patek Philippe for, what was they sold for? 12. Yeah, given that I was going to be alongside more record price, a vintage watch sold for 12 million. They sold it for 11 million in 2016. I'm not sure that's as worthy a celebration as they think it is.
Okay,
No?
first of all, we're part of the problem by even talking about this.
Yeah, I knew you'd
There
love
is
this.
a revolving door strategy
Mhm.
employed by many specialist auction houses. And that strategy means this same product will come through our doors constantly. We might even change it a little bit each time, but we'll make money on the sale each time. So they benefit greatly from these items being purchased, resold, purchased, resold. And there's a lot of strategies they can use to get someone to bid very highly on it. It's very similar to a conspiracy in the sense that there's a bunch of people in on it, and the crime is getting the person who pays it to be like, yes, that's a good value. Yes, that's a good idea. So sometimes the person buying it knows and gets some back channel thing that they were promised. But let's just say that this is not exactly, organic market behavior in action. This is not a natural outcome of supply and demand. This is a lot of manipulated behavior. So the best strategy to kind of shield against this problem of this false evaluation is just not to talk about this at all, because we can poke a billion holes in this, but at the end of the day, this hot air balloon ain't going nowhere. So we'll be able to pick all the holes in it we want to.
Well,
there's plenty of
just
holes, but I just think it's so interesting that they're I mean, the holes are extensive, but that they're saying, good on us, we hit records. Everything is more expensive now than it was years ago. Go to the grocery store. Eggs are beating that 15-18 if you want to talk about percentage increase from 2016 to 2025. So like, yeah, it's natural for things to be more expensive. If you sold everything that you sold before again today, you'd probably sell it for more. To me, that is not news. I mean, it would be bad if they sold them for less, but as Ariel mentioned, they make money by selling the things, not necessarily what they sold for. So if they just kept selling them every other day, they'd take their 20% or 25% buyer's premium on top of every single one of those, and the machine keeps perpetuating. It's in no way a reflection of the value. But given that the price of everything is so much more, $1 million going up over the course of a decade, well, I don't know if that's,
yeah,
you might have done better on real estate with 12
I
million.
think he would have done better just
The
about keeping it in the
reporting of
bank.
this content is part of the problem. This is part of the propaganda, if you will, that this is somehow a good idea. We may know better, but there's, and again, this is just Watch Pro. We love you guys, but you'll publish anything. But they got real financial media to start covering these auctions as though this is somehow financial news. As though this is somehow, information that's relevant. This is not. This is this is puppetry. Okay, this is performance theater. Oral Box is a trained actor. Okay, like he's a very intelligent guy. He's good at what he does. But let's not pretend that they're selling watches again what the market is demanding. This is a highly curated affair.
Yes, and we're here. The reason we're covering it is to continue to poke a hole in it as best we can. We might just be snipping at the edges. And I do like, obviously, this was Periscope's coverage of the watch in question that sold for this $1 million more, was severely kicked by Periscope as being maybe not all that Phillips and others
A little Botoxed up, huh?
claimed. Little Botoxed up, little treatment, little treatment on yielded dial and numerals, and yeah, just that. And this is the problem: is these watches come around, all the really detailed photograph. In 2016, we were able to take pretty decent photographs. It wasn't like we were using Polaroid. There was digital photographs. So the people who care about these things can compare and contrast to the good photographs taken in 2025 and go, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. On the basis that no one's really been wearing this watch for the past 10 years, and it's probably been in a safe or a cupboard somewhere, how is this watch transformed so much and it's still considered the same thing? I also find it interesting that, there's a lot of things here, but Phillips, that well-known Russian-owned company, let's just say, we've sanctioned lots of things in this world to do with Russia. Can we sanction Phillips? Is that a thing? Should that be a thing? Could that be a thing? Anyway, yeah, there we go.
Are they
We'll leave it
Russian
at
owned?
that.
I didn't realize.
Well, I
that
think
they
they're owned
were-
by a Russian, are they not? Have I just made that up?
I have no
thought they were-
idea.
I thought they were Russian owned. Anyway, this week's ironic clapage goes to Phillips for managing to increase the price of a watch by $1 million in 10 years, which they think is a really good, and we think you should probably just have put the money in the bank and not being so silly. So this week's clapage to Phillips. Well done, Phillips.
Rick,
Well
you're
done.
not mistaken. According to Google's, the Phillips auction house is owned by the Mercury Group, a luxury retail company based in Moscow, Russia, founded by Leonid Friedland and
Oh, I know
yeah,
the Mercury folks.
yeah. They acquired Phillips in
Oh, you
2008.
do? Oh, you do? Do you?
Yeah, they own some retail and stuff like that. They're both above and below the line there. Look, those they're smart folks out there, but yeah, I mean, go buy watches for them at full retail price at brand new. This whole auction thing, it's just a game. It's just a game,
It's
folks.
just
Well, for
silly.
$12 million, you can go ball really, really hard at the Patek boutique and then go buy a house to store your Pateks. So just for perspective there.
And buy all your friends a house as well.
Look,
Any-
I wrote. I have to mention it again now. What year was it now? My article about 10 things you need to know about watch auction houses or something like that.
I will find that. Hold on. 10 thing. Well, actually, you might need to find it for me. Yeah, if you find it for me, we'll stick the article up here and have a brief chat. If you send us a link in the chat. Good
So
morning, Borisic.
This basically
chat.
just discussed the major reasons why you should not trust. 2014. Okay. And
Send us a link.
like nothing has changed. Like nothing has changed. It's gotten worse in some ways. It definitely hasn't gotten better. It's just I think it's funny that they continue to seduce people and trick them and think that this is somehow news. Financial publications still cover this. They still have legitimate PR people. Like, this is just a big game, and they're preying on these poor, unfortunate, bored rich people, and then everyone else is being deluded into thinking, boy, is that new Patek watch worth it because that vintage one went for so much? I mean, that's also part of the game. That's why Patek got so sensitive about this, because the publication, the news about these expensive watches at auction has a direct impact on lay consumers feeling comfortable about buying new watches at retail price. But it's just been a justification for all these people to raise their prices. Rolex, Patek, that do so well at auction, guess what? They've had like insane price increases over the last couple of years, buoyed by the fact that people are like, well, their used watches go for so much at auction. So it's all part of this cohesive, large scale manipulation to convince people these things are worth more than they are. And don't get me wrong, these are expensive products to make. I'm not saying they should be cheap, but they don't need to be as expensive as they are right now.
Yes, I've got the article up there on screen for those that are watching on YouTube. Yeah. Oh, there he is. It's Mr. Paul Newman. It's all his fault. We'll blame Paul Newman for creating this market in the first place. There you go check out the article. Right, let's check out another article.
I mean, disagree with me.
From yourself, Aaron. I don't disagree. You know what? The only bit of that article I disagree with now is the glamorization of watch auctions. I think they've become significantly less glamorous because they're now all filled with smelly watch geeks rather than glamorous people swanning in. The number it's become Nerdville watch auctions in a way.
Well, that's
that
who goes there, but
Yeah,
they still get press coverage. There's still copious amounts of press releases. They're still pushing very, very hard this stuff. You're right. There's a little bit less of like, come get your watch evaluated. Come get a free evaluation. They're pushing less to get people to, sell their watches with them, again, because it's a very curated affair and they have their sort of stable of usual suspects.
Yeah. Right. Another article from yourself, no doubt. I think we'll probably be talking about this one in 10 years' time as well.
The topic of high prices.
Talking of high prices. According to Ariel, the luxury watch industry created its own worst enemy with high prices. Now it faces a reckoning. Is the apocalypse Rumors of the apocalypse, it turns out, have not been falsely reported. I saw another article in Watch Pro. Again, it's one of these things. They make the graph look really bad until you zoom out and you realize it ain't that bad. But it does appear to be that, certainly on the secondary market, there genuinely is a reckoning, certainly in Rolex, who would be considered the bellwether for these things in terms of the prices, if not dramatically falling, then certainly not climbing at the same rate as they were.
I mean,
in
we
the
point
used
to
market.
Rolex as like the leading indicator for it, or like a representation of it, but like Rolex is always the exception of the rule in terms of tax status and everything. They're the exception to the rule. Everything was so inflated during the COVID era that Rolex didn't have anywhere. It was not sustainable. There's no reason like a 25-year-old Submariner should be like over $10,000. That's bonkers. Like they had nowhere to go but down. I think you're seeing kind of a more of an equalization. People aren't dropping $50K for a steel Daytona that's still in production that you can buy for 15,000. Other prices are kind of moving forward, but everyone likes to point to Rolex and say this is a telling indicator. And it's like that it was so out of whack for so long. It's just now starting to come back to reality.
So, Ariel, what's your global observation of this? What prompted this to be written right now rather than kept in the draft or written a year ago?
So I liken the watch industry often to a feeding frenzy where, like, sharks will like all storm in on like a school of fish and basically just eat them until they're all gone, just gobble it up as much as possible. There isn't sort of like an overarching like leader that says like, okay, let's let a few of them stay alive so that they can go breed a little bit so we can have another one of these. It's just sort of like unfettered gluttony until there's nothing left. And the watch industry often operates this way. If they think that there's sort of like food to be had, they will gobble it as quickly as they can, as aggressively as they can, and then sort of not see the end of the road coming where their strategy has them run out of food very quickly. They're not sustainable in that way. And so what ends up happening is the watch industry experiences this long cycle of bubbles and bursts, right? They have all these things of like, oh, let's get on this design, let's get on this brand, let's get in this country, let's get in this whatever. And they just put all their like effort into these areas that inevitably, are not sustainable. So that is really what I'm worried about. Another bubble that is going to burst. I try to illustrate the reasons the problem exists and some of the solutions that I think are there, not necessarily all the manifestations of it. There's tons of examples of watches that have had their retail prices, and that's specifically what I'm talking about in this article, not used watches, but retail priced watches, even though used watches are part of that world. And I've shown that prices have gone up a lot and regularly, like sometimes more than once a year. Prices are going up. As a consumer, it's like a moving target. It's ridiculous. So we have this situation where watch prices are inflating and inflating and inflating and inflating. And yes, to a degree, there's sort of this new, group of micro brands, startup brands, whatever you want to call them, that are able to take advantage of some of that huge gaps in the market, which are left open. At the end of the day, those small micro brands are not really part of the industry so much as they use excess manufacturing capacity. It's the big brands that exist to allow the industrial base that makes the watches, support itself. The little guys just can't do that right now. So the big brands, not every single one, definitely not every single one, but too many of them have increased retail prices to points where like very few people are willing to buy them, can buy them, especially without manipulation and a bunch of weird strategy. So what I've noticed is that people are turned off by the hobby because of a general perception of really, really high prices. And a lot of enthusiasts can be like, yeah, but if you know what you're doing, you can find a deal. And that's true. But remember, this hobby requires a large, we'll say, net, and it needs a lot of mainstream people to come in. So when mainstream people come in and they look at the prices of the popular brands, your Rolexes, your Omegas, your Cartiers, and they see them so high, they don't imagine that they could get something pretty decent for $1,000 or $2,000. They're just like, wait a minute, and this is the mainstream brand, and even more exclusive stuff is even more expensive. Like, I'm not even touching this hobby. Like, this is just
Mm.
too much. And
Mm.
again, it's not like the industry is having like focus groups and market research saying like, okay, we think we can charge this much and no more, or unless we've broken the system. They'll just keep pushing it like a feeding frenzy, just gobbling up as much as they can, not looking 5 feet ahead to realize that, the end of the rope is there. And I'm worried that it's coming soon. And as I said, the industry is going to face a reckoning. The US has already basically stopped consuming what they don't want to spend money on, right?
Mm.
So the watch industry now is not even thinking in a wholesale way, okay, now that the most important market, which is the US, is kind of not growing the way we want, let's rethink things. No, they're doing their same old thing, which is, okay, let's see where else in the world we can go. Where else are consumers richer and stupider? They're not even trying to reformulate it. They're all trying to convince themselves that like China's back, which it's not.
Mm.
So again, this article is pretty in depth. I think it's like over 4,000 words, and I people have enjoyed it. It was a long time in the writing, but again, it's certainly not the end of the story.
And so, I mean, we've seen this week both Timex buying
Daniel Wellington.
Daniel Wellington
Oh gosh,
and
talk about
Foss
expensive email list.
and Fossil Group being rescued from administration. So at the bottom end of the market, you're seeing trouble at Mill. Clearly, that's going to keep playing through for both of those big brands to have had. I mean, I don't know what they paid for Daniel Wellington. Probably a couple of I don't know, probably a couple of PRXs.
$45.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been much. Uh, and same with the creditor rearrangement of Fossil Group. Is the bottom to what extent does the bottom end of the market, which is now dominated by the micro brands? So before there were micro brands, what was there? There was fashion brands which were really cheap, and there was the cheaper end of the well-known brands like a Tag Formula One that was quartz that you could get into Tag for a limited amount of money, and once you were into Tag, you were into the Swiss brand. Whereas now, at the low end, what you're getting into is the micro brand. And I wonder if what's happening is actually we're seeing a separation between micro brands and, for the sake of argument, Swiss brands, to the extent that buying into one doesn't necessarily mean you ever move into the other. It just means you buy more micro brands, because what you're interested in is the variety, not investing £10,000 or whatever in one watch. What you like is owning 10 £500 watches that you can play around with, that when you break, you just dispose of. You don't need to pay for expense. You don't need the hassle that comes with it, the theft, the insurance bill, all the stuff that the media says is bad about luxury watches and that we report about. So actually what we're seeing is a separation of these two things into two entirely different types of object. Virtually, you're seeing all the watch shows with hundreds of micro brands at them, and then you're seeing the big watch shows with the major billion-dollar retail brands there. So are we just seeing the two separate, such that it's basically now two industries?
Well, I think you bring up a few topics there. In the beginning, you started talking about the failures of the mass market brands like Fossil and Timex. And for me, their failures are more related to distribution. Fossil, especially,
Okay.
never quite recovered from being sold in a mall style environment, at least in the United States and I'm sure other places. And when those places started having less sales, Fossil suffered as a result. Fossil has been able to sell directly consumer, but they don't have that wholesale volume that they sort of relied on. And Timex is in a very similar story. Both of these companies have invested relatively heavily into having their own online stores and stuff like that. But as we know, because we work in the industry, they don't consistently spend. And since Fossil's been having financial problems, they have really pulled back on spending. So, when the catalog industry was really big, department stores were selling catalog and stuff like that. These companies are doing fantastic. But, so their business models haven't really shifted as well in the distribution environment, but their products are still fine. I don't really think they failed in the product thing. It's just not enough people really know about it. I think it's ironic that they bought Daniel Wellington, because if you look at the sort of end of Daniel Wellington, yes, it was known for selling a lot of watches like on social media at the time when it was cheap, and working with influencers was like a new novel thing. But they ended up going the wholesale route. In order to grow and sustain, they found all these little stores around the world to sell their watches in. And so the question is, what actually is Timex getting? You know, when Movado bought MVMT, which I swear I have no idea what they're doing with, if anything, the whole point was like, oh, this company knows how to sell online. We need that skill. I don't know that MVMT is actually very good at that. I already knew that what their strategy wasn't going to work by the time that they sold to Movado. But is that why Timex bought Daniel Wellington? To sell online because they were good at that, you know, a decade ago? I think it's sort of an interesting question to say what is it they're sort of really getting. I'm sure they got it at a bargain basement price. I don't know why anyone else would get it, but you know, that's why these companies don't send out proud press releases like, guess who we bought, you know, like I'll like Timex has never informed me about this. Movado and all our conversations never brought up MVMT one time.
Ripley, your thoughts on the matter? How are you seeing the market?
Oh, I mean, I've bought lots of things I'm not proud of and would rather not mention in conversation. So,
Okay, worst purchase in recent history.
I mean, the last month of my health insurance that went through before I got married and didn't need that anymore. That's just money exploded on the hillside. But I mean, there can be a lot of reasons why a brand can buy another brand. If I was Timex, though, I would not want Daniel Wellington wouldn't be the one I'd want. Timex is like the brand of the people. Yeah, it's the thing you're going to see in like Walmarts and big box stores and all of that. But they also have like definitely some watch nerds over there. There's definitely some cool models and like the Q. And there's far more enthusiast driven things. And they have been leaning into that over the last several years, let alone the Timex Atelier stuff where it's Swiss and at a higher price point. But they've got a lot of cool stuff that's pretty cheap that you need the cool stuff to sell online. I think in this digital era, 10 years ago, it was different. There were tactics to make a quick sale, but to keep that sustaining, you ultimately do need a product. You just can't keep finding new fools to buy your junky watches. So they have cool watches. I think they just need to be promoted more and let people know. If I went on to Timex right now, I'd probably find a dozen things I didn't know existed that are actually pretty cool and affordable. But they don't really talk about them, you know. Instead, they're promoting like a collaboration or a Peanuts watch. And it's some of those expedition things that are going to be the thing that some enthusiast one night's going to buy. And yeah, it'll be like, you know, $100 or something like that.
Next stop, 1983 is what you're greeted with on the Timex website. That just sounds sounds very. Oh yeah, actually, I maybe shouldn't have gone to the Timex website. What the blazes is that? Eye of
That
Horus thing.
Jackie collaboration with all of the jewels in the eye.
I'm gonna
Yeah, but
review that just for you, Rick.
but look next to it. Look next to it at that GMT. That GMT is pretty cool. It's I believe that's the Miyota 9 series. Like
Is that one of their James's?
yeah, James.
Yeah, the James brand.
James brand.
Is that something they've just? Is that them? Have they just
not
made
James
that up?
Man, but James Brand.
But it's not James Bond. James Brand.
James Brand.
Is that their own thing? Is it? That's not somebody. There's not actually a thing called the James brand.
Yeah,
no, there is something called the James brand.
Yeah, this is a collab.
So it's a
Can't
collaboration.
you see their design influence all over it?
Well, I don't know. It just might have been
the emptiness. That's all James. So it's that weird geometric turtle or whatever that is.
Staring into the dark void of brand, James Brand. It's pretty cool. $600. It's not bad in the grand scheme of things, I suppose. Anything else interesting on the Timex website? I doubt
There's
it,
lots of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that GMT, the Exposition GMT.
Yeah.
You want something a bit oldie looking, the quartz.
I wrote up a Waterbury GMT that you'll see on the site within the next couple weeks or so. And yeah, that's a couple $100. It's a good looking, like dressy GMT. And it has a Swiss movement.
Yeah, I'd forgotten they did that Q Timex with the what do you call it, hands, the not imaginary hands. That's something different. What's the phrase I'm looking for, gentlemen? Mystery dial, the mystery dial. Forgotten they did that. That's quite nice. Got Omega Pastiche in the Deepwater Meridian for $215. That from a distance, no one's going to be able to tell that you're not wearing some sort of Omega. Yeah, I mean, it's. I was thinking
I
about
have
this
my
through the
rant ready,
week.
by the way.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about this through the week as to what actually encourages anyone nowadays to just buy a watch from Timex or any of these brands. Like
Encourages?
who wakes up in the morning and decides, you know what's missing in my life? Yeah, I've got to 22 and I don't own a watch. I'm going to go and buy a watch. Like, how are people being brought in to buying a watch?
Going to
Because
the department store and perusing that.
yeah, but nobody goes to but that's my point. Is nobody goes to department stores. Nobody looks at catalogs in advance of
not?
Christmas.
This is not good for Timex.
How does somebody who are they only waiting on a relative to introduce them? So is it only ever mum and dad that decide that 11-year-old Charlie is now ready for their first watch, and that's what happens, and they grow out with it, and either they decide in a peak of desperation because they can't think in this consumerist society what else to buy them for their Christmas, that eventually they just buy them another watch. And either
watches
that
make a
thing
good gift,
gets,
sir.
No, Timex still has a
Yeah.
place because in the old days, I'd say, yeah, get someone like us, but like a Seiko diver, like an SKX or something. Like Seiko Prospex is now not what I'm getting, like my high school nephew type of thing. He can
Yes.
get a bit older until he's getting that. So then it becomes Timex, and Timex has sort of filled that void where you go to Walmart or like Target and you see things under $100, Weekenders,
Timex.
Easy Readers, Iron Men.
Filling the void.
Since 1983. Let's be honest.
Look, the ones you saw,
want...
like $200 to $600, that's what Seiko used to do a lot of that they don't anymore.
So actually, in a roundabout way, are Timex in the purchase of the likes of Daniel Wellington actually positioning themselves in the best place, which is good looking stuff, so fashionable, but also cheap as chips, so that cousin Ripley can buy it as a birthday present for somebody's 13th birthday, and suddenly that person's into the watch world. Because as you say, you ain't buying them an SKX because it's 600 quid. You might buy that for yourself, but you're not buying it for anybody else unless you're incredibly generous. And
that's a good strat. If that's their only strategy, which is not, that's a good one. The watch that satisfied watch nerd, standards, but is cheap enough that they can buy as a gift for a relative or a friend and not be like, oh, that's Omega money.
Yeah, well, or I'm not buying that. It's got Daniel Wellington written on it. In other words, do you think, for example, in the Timex Daniel Wellington, you're going to see the rebuilding of Daniel Wellington, the brand, or you're going to see
there's no. What do you mean rebuilding? They had one. They never had a good product.
Yeah, I was going to say there's nothing there. There's nothing to build it back to. There was
so it's
one
just about
mediocre.
So is it just about buying capacity and whatever talent?
They're buying an email list. I wasn't joking. What else? There's nothing else there to get.
Right. Okay. So is this when we get a data leak and we find out who's on Daniel Wellington's? Ripley gets an email from Timex. Because he wasn't a Daniel Wellington customer.
Well, I'd be happy. That's an upgrade for the email. Instead of seeing that same bland watch that was overpriced, now they can market that James brand thing, which is pretty cool.
Imagine if Giorgio Gali start designing all the Daniel Wellington stuff. It's like beautiful and amazing. And the Daniel Wellington guys are like, "Oh my god, you did this with the brand!" And then and then I wake up from my dream. You
remember back in the day, Skoda was considered not to be a good brand, and then it was eventually bought by VW. And do you get Skodas in America? Is Skoda a thing in the States?
All we need to do is talk about the other Ska, which is Skagen.
Skagen, yeah.
That was from Denmark.
That was really the first brand that I remember that was purchased because it was like cheap and popular.
I still see them. Someone wants a watch. They want it kind of classy. If they had an unlimited funds, they'd probably get a Nomos. But then it makes sense why you see so many of those things. And they're like, it's European, it's Scandinavian design. It's like
you fell for it.
But here's what I've noticed. I noticed that I saw Skagen represented in the world, meaning on wrists in the marketplace, less after it was purchased than before. So every single
Mm-hmm.
time these companies are purchased in this way, I don't want to say they die, but you never hear from them again because they end up being locked in the closet for the rest of their life.
The number of successful company purchases of one big company by another that actually works is in any industry is incredibly small. It genuinely
There's one I
doesn't
know
work.
of, and it barely
Mhm.
works. And they put in years and years of preventative
Mhm.
measures to stop the inevitable, which eventually happened, and that
Uh-huh.
is Disney's acquisition of Pixar.
Right.
That's a
Okay.
whole huge story unto itself. But that's right, Skagen was bought by Fossil.
There you
What
go.
what other smarter moves?
So-
No, actually, it was.
and
It
then
was.
they ended up, and then they end up owning $150 million for their
But
creditors.
it is a
It was a good
complete
move.
it's a complete fantasy to ever suggest that acquiring company helps the company. It might help the
Mhm.
company that acquired it, but acquiring a company, I don't know, 99% of the time is bad for the company. Let's in any
Mhm.
industry. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, Nick Jonas is now the public profile of Fossil
Who
Group.
are they trying to
Biggest
sell
shareholder.
watches to? Who, like, honestly, like, like, who, wait,
Paleontologists, of course.
well, I just mean, like, the guy who was famous, like, I don't know, when the 12-year-old girl from 15 years ago, who is the target demographic for this?
Yeah, I'm just looking for a picture of Nick Jonas.
Better than opening up like a Chevrolet franchise.
Yeah, there's no way that Nick Jonas is seen in public.
It's that or like
well,
5 Jamba Juices.
right,
Okay, that's all Fossil Group cost them.
There you go. There's
The cost of 5 Jamba Juice franchises.
there you go. There is Nick Jonas. Very much not, I would suggest, wearing a Fossil Group product. That looks like a full gold.
What is a Nick Jonas?
What is a Nick Jonas? How many Nick Jonases
Nick
to
Jonas
the pound?
is like the Charmander of the other Jonases. It's the smallest of the Jonas, the youngest Jonas. And when it, except unlike the Pokemon, when they evolve, they get cooler. I don't really know. I think the oldest one's like not cool. I'm not an expert on this, but
Are they actors? Do they perform somehow?
They
What do
used
they
to
do?
be in a band and wore rings to flaunt their virginity.
I have no idea.
That's what I know about them. They used to be in a Disney Channel band and all wore purity rings to flaunt their virginity.
So they're not acrobats. Okay, I get it.
No.
The Jonas
I
acrobats.
thought they were like a circus act.
Is it like sizes of champagne bottle? You start with the champagne bottle, then the Nebuchadnezzar and the Balthasar.
So they're virginity watches now? Is that the whole idea behind Fossil?
Promise watches, purity watches.
That's where this is going. That's
well,
where
to
this
be
is
fair,
going.
if you wear one, it might
it
might be a great way to preserve that.
Yeah,
the chastity strap.
The chastity watch. Fossil Group invents the chastity watch. I think that, listen, there are parts of the States where apparently that would probably sell really quite well. That's how to get folk into watches.
Do not wear this watch on a date.
Maybe that's why Daniel
maybe
Wellington
do
was,
it.
You do.
Maybe Timex needed a chastity watch brand, and that's why Daniel Wellington was purchased.
No, Fossil is now the chastity brand.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, has anyone been to our Fossil party? Like, is this introducing a level of control into Fossil parties? Were they known to be like the Breitling parties of old?
Look, we love the
randomly
people
in
at
the
Fossil.
desert?
No one there is partying right now, okay?
Right, okay. There's
No one.
parties
I'm a
happening in
former
Fossil.
employee of Fossil. One of my
Are you?
first jobs in the
Let's talk
watch
about
industry, I worked in the Fossil store in Times Square, and it pained me that I could only wear Fossil watches.
But you stared across Times Square looking at the Invicta deal that was going on across the other side of the road.
Oh yeah,
buy one, get 4 free.
Let me be that
longing
salesman.
to work for Invicta.
No. That was the classy watch store in Times Square, the Fossil store. There were some better designs back then. But I did take a Citizen off each day and leave it in my locker when I went to work.
No, oh well, there you go. Right, we should talk about something else. Let's say I'm really keen on what Ariel's rant is, so let's do a show within a show. Ripley already had a rant on the go, so maybe we'll have 2 rants and we'll decide who's the best rant. Ripley's rant was MoonSwatch, which kind of links into this, was that MoonSwatch is not that cheap.
Yeah, how did we ever convince ourselves of that?
So
I mean, we can go with that one. I can save it.
No, I think there's room for 2. I think there's room for 2.
Let him go first because
so Ripley, our show within Ripley, our show within a show rant is over to you first of all. With MoonSwatch is not that cheap. Go.
Yeah, I don't know how that became like just celebrated as like the bar for cheap watches. Maybe it was
Let's have a
because we
look.
were all stuck inside for the pandemic and weren't going out, or I don't. But my column is actually affordable, where we talk. We highlight, or I choose to highlight a cool, affordable watch, and there are so many watches that are less than a MoonSwatch and made from like real metal and sapphire and good materials and stuff. And it's not like these are terribly expensive, but like and there was definitely the novelty and the moment and all of that, but when you really start thinking about these within the context of like what affordable watches are, this is not them. This is more expensive than most Timexes, and if you're paying this type of money, you're getting a pretty good Timex. This is a lot more expensive than like your entry level G-Shocks. At this price point, you're getting like some metal bezels or something cool on it. It for the time, or for something with an Omega logo, I could sure it's cheap, but I just and I mean, compared to like a regular Speedmaster, sure, it's inexpensive, but I really, when you think about what you're getting for the price of a MoonSwatch, it's just a little bit baffling that this is like the, oh yeah, good horological fun. It's like I'd take that same money and go to Spinnaker's website if you want something fun. It'll be made out of steel and
Metal.
sapphire, and you can get SpongeBob, and it will probably still cost less. So I don't know. It just sort of seems strange that I keep writing the conclusion paragraph on an article and being like, yeah, it's still less than a MoonSwatch. It's or like look at the price of the Apple Watch SE, not the flagship Apple Watch, but technological marvel. Yeah, it's what, like $240 or something. How much are these right now?
Don't you want to support expensive Swiss labor? Come on, Ripley.
Look, I would be so much more willing to support their like 8-week long summer vacations if I also had an 8-week long summer vacation in my country. But it's just like rubbing salt in the wound. You're going to charge me more so that y'all can go on summer break. Come on.
But you're kind of joking, but also not. And that's the problem with the Swiss made value proposition, is they try to make it be like, oh, support our like poor little unfortunate, backwards cottage industry. And then they're like, wait a minute, no, you're not that. You're like, charging a fortune for something, and the justification is, well, things cost more over here. But they don't say that in China or Japan or America, for that instance, where stuff is being made. And you're right, when conditions in the United States and other Western worlds are worse than the watchmakers have it, then we're like, sorry, now you need to support our lifestyles, okay? So tone it down with the expenses. Your government will help you. Ours clearly has no intention of doing so.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously this week it was reported that Mr. Trump now has a very nice Rolex clock sitting on his desk. So
and like a gold bar. Can you get more thinly veiled?
At least the Swiss, when they bribe people,
they know what they like.
They know how to do it. They're like, yes, Mr. Trump, here is a gold bar for you. Now, please reduce our tariffs, because we've got a fondue habit to maintain over here. We've got a fondue addiction and an addiction to money that you're letting the side down. You'd have thought if they'd just given them loads of chocolate, what we want to do is give them the highest sugar content chocolate they could conceivably make, something to induce, what do you call it, a hypoglycemic incident, so he's carted off and somebody else can make some better decisions. Yeah, gold bar, that's pretty on the nose in terms of...
Well, they make gold bars in Switzerland, so the whole thing was like, here's stuff we make in Switzerland.
What I want to know, though, is...
and we print money in the U.S. I know.
The Swiss are happy to take that from us.
It's a match
more than happy.
But I want to know how they got the gold bar into the country, because as soon as they take it out the diplomatic bag and give it, do they not have to pay tax on it? Because just...
Do you think they're flying commercial? This is
no, maybe that was the plan. They give it to Trump and they're like, this is for you. But you have to pay 39%, on the... And he goes, oh, whoa. We didn't do the paperwork. If you want to pay that, you can have it.
If you want the gold bar, then you have to reduce the tariffs, and therefore you don't pay it. Yeah. So yeah, you got to admire Rolex for the style of bribery. At least they're straight on it.
Well, at least they gave a clock. Who was that Met Gold organization who just gave the bar? It wasn't Rolex who gave the bar. They
Yes, it
make
wasn't Rolex
bars,
who gave
but
the
they
bar.
at least they gave a gift.
But the other really fun thing is who was the other person in the room? So there was the Rolex chief executive, the guy from the Swiss Gold. Who else was in the room? And yet it's not been reported of giving them anything. Your guy Rupert from Richemont was also there. Who's heard what
Johann?
Richemont gave him a Panerai? Probably. That's why it's not been reported. Here's a Panerai. What is this? What is this nonsense?
I think Rupert's like, I showed up.
I'm here. I got off my chair and went.
You see
So I
the
love
picture? I mean, look, I know he doesn't like going to meetings and stuff like that. That's not his thing. But like that he actually did it in his mind, like, okay, I'm doing a lot here.
This is my heavy lifting for the week. So there we go. So
Do
yes,
Swiss robots go on vacation? Yes, I believe they do.
They do. With no one to man the machines, they just sit dormant.
they have better healthcare than the two Americans on this show right now.
Oh, I mean,
cheaper
Rick,
healthcare,
like
at
the
least.
cinder block in my backyard has better free healthcare than I do.
Healthcare?
These words, I recognize both, just not in that order.
Dear me. So yeah, so that's our rant. Always consider that MoonSwatch ain't really that cheap for what you're getting. Right, Ariel, show within a show, rant number 2 from you. What are you giving us?
Oh wait, I want to focus more on rant number 1. Was there an
Okay.
idea out there that the MoonSwatch was cheap? Like, is this a running theme?
Yeah, I think it gets presented as being, here's your entry level. If you want a little bit of Swiss magic, then go buy a MoonSwatch.
Yeah, and it's
But then
so
you
much
actually
more
buy
expensive than a
one.
regular swatch. Like if you want
Yeah.
a Swiss thing that says it's Swiss, go get like a Victorinox or something like that. Or better yet, go
Yeah.
get like the $65 or $90 swatch and it's the same
Mhm.
company. And
Do you think you might be a bit infected by social media? Because here's the thing. I don't pay attention to those channels and I didn't hear this. And Swatch is so bad at communicating. I know they didn't say it. So I'm wondering if this is sort of like something you're overhearing.
no, I just know a lot of people who had bought one thinking like, yeah, it wasn't that much. I would get the cool. I got on the hype train. And then I realized I could have actually bought like a Seiko or something cool for that amount of
That'd
money.
wear. They wouldn't get dirty. Like fundamentally, it gets dirty. It stains. If we
This
still
is
smoke,
look. I'm
if we
not
still
trying to
smoked in
sell our
public-
services because we
Yeah.
don't sell our services to consumers. But like, come and read about watches for a while
Mhm.
before you buy these things. Don't go on social media for a few
yeah.
minutes to be like, okay, I've got valuation figured out.
Mhm.
I'll buy the plastic Patek. That's great. No, I think that like if you spend any time in this hobby whatsoever, you recognize that the MoonSwatch is almost like a false flag. Like, is it cool? No, it's just a toy. Okay, all right, cool toy, still a toy. I'm big grown out of toys, and that's what the MoonSwatch is. It's like Fisher Price, like my first like chronograph. That's what it is, and like that's cool for a kid. But like if you're like an adult walking around with like a Fisher Price like screwdriver set in plastic, people will be like, that's not actually going to do anything good for you, right? You realize that. And it's kind of the same thing. And is it expensive? Yeah, but like why are we surprised by that? This is a group of people that will price whatever they want. And the Swatch group is amazing because inside the Swatch group, you have all extremes. You have incredibly good values. Like some watches are like such a good amount of money, you know, like Hamiltons and Tissot's and things like that.
Tissot, yeah.
Yeah, like, and then you have the opposite, like insanely poor values at some of the brands. And like it's mostly in the very high-end watches or the Omegas. But then like Swatch is now bad value. So it's like it's so weird that internally at the same company, they're so inconsistent on this basic idea of valuation. Imagine if General Motors was like that. Like at least they were sort of somewhat consistent with pricing.
Well, Swatch is almost a microcosm of Swatch Group, where you've got that radical inconsistency of price. Swatch still has good value. Like my first watch ever when I was like 4 years old was a Swatch Flick Flack. It still runs today, and I guarantee you, I didn't baby it in my
from
youth.
where you're sitting.
Yeah. No, I took the battery out actually, so it wouldn't keep me up at night. But like the entry level swatches are actually really good value. And if you want something that gives a lot of design oomph for very little money, there's tons and tons of stuff. If you want to collect a bunch of watches, all of the regional exclusive stuff and the thematic things, It's a lot of fun for not that much. And then you've got this thing that just seems inexplicably expensive compared to everything else in the store. And that's kind of like Swatch Group. You got Mito, Tissot, Hamilton, Certina, all kind of killing it under $2,000. And then you go up to like $8,000 at Omega and you go, wait, what happened? Wait, what's that different? Well, of course that's a little bit better. And then it goes up to there and you're looking at like the 50 fathoms going, oh, that's a bit dear then. Okay.
But this is what I was also contemplating this through the week about the world of micro brands and looking at the amount of stuff that's out there and just going, you know what? I'm not sure I like any of these anymore. And I wonder whether Swatch is now missing a trick, that it really just needs to get its act together at the kind of $50. I mean, maybe it's not the most environmentally friendly thing, but basically disposable fashion watch. Something that just looks cool for a summer, isn't some micro brand that's just trying to rip off a Submariner or a Speedmaster or some Gerald Genta nonsense, but that actually is just fashionable for that moment at $50. So you'd buy it because you just fancied something that was luminous yellow, because you were just in a luminous yellow frame of mind for going on your holidays.
And then what do? You burn it for fuel? What happens after?
Yeah, well, it's made of
Eat it,
bioceramic, so it's probably
compost it.
compost it. I don't know. You keep it. It
think
becomes a memory of a holiday, in the same way that you might keep your airplane tickets that you used to go on holiday. You also have the watch that you wore on that holiday, and you remember something.
Okay, if this is something you do,
romantic.
Ripley and I have to come over and do an emergency hoarder detox. You have vacation some years ago.
I might have overshared there somewhat.
I was born an accountant.
Yes. There we go. Cool. Right. Rant number 2, Mr. Adams.
Oh yeah, I get to talk about something now. All right. Some of these watches will come out in a few weeks. Some of them have already come out. I think the one I'll start with was the Cartier that came out this year with a name that I can't pronounce. That has the tiny little windows. And that's what this rant is about, is please don't be excited about watches with tiny little windows. Some of them have actual jumping discs. Some of them have like wandering discs. All of them are difficult to read. None of them are as nice in person as you think. I would say 90% of them are far harder to read than just traditional, like hour and minute hands.
Would this be the watch you're talking about? The Cartier
yes,
PV
this
Tanka
horrible
watches?
thing that.
Yeah.
Again, this is okay. You need something which is probably going to break. You still need to tell the time, but we're going to do everything possible to minimize the breakable windows, right? Like that's all this is. It's like it's a prison needs windows, but they need to be as small as possible. Okay, that's the appeal here.
If GLC had made this watch and said that polo players wear it, I might have believed them, but not the other
exactly.
one.
So that's what I mean. There's a few good things on the market, like the Zeitwerk, but that is by no means the norm. That is the exception. So now brands are starting to come out with more of these watches where most of the face is like empty, okay, or has nothing good there. You have a tiny thing to see the hour. Reading the minutes, oddly, is even worse. You have to like the disc often moves the backwards way,
the wrong way.
Yeah, and you have to like take several steps to like see, okay, what is the actual number that the arrow is pointing at, and do I look to the right or the left to know which direction? It just sucks. More and more of these watches will come out before it's over. Some of them from a Blog to Watch advertisers. I'm sorry, but this. I know you guys like jumping on trends. This is a terrible one.
The hand that feeds us.
And as soon as you're exhausted with this design exercise, then please, that's the sooner the better. Anyways, that's my rant.
I'm just having a look
Watches
for other
tiny windows.
I'm just having a look for another brand on the website to see if we've covered it. No, we haven't. Any other watches that are
well? There's the Bremont example. That's a good one. There's a few coming up.
Yeah, Bremont. Let's see the Bremont. So the rant is stop it with small windows. Ripley.
I mean, if you're gonna do that, at least use the area around it, because you're not getting a dial. The centerpiece of a normal watch is a dial, and that's usually the place where the brand goes to do something pretty and nice and gives it the legibility and that's both practical and pretty and all of that. Without a dial and you just have these little windows, aside from issues of legibility, they're also taking out one of the more intricate and visually complex components. So if don't just brush the top piece of metal, for God's sake, at least give me some engravings or a mural on it. If you're going to take out the visual centerpiece of the dial, don't put it with something that looks like I would use it to cover something else. So, I mean, I'm sure there could be a very tasteful implementation of this. As Ariel mentioned, it's not like all of them are bad. The Zeit works lovely, but again, if you look at the face of that, it's not just a big, expansive brushed piece of steel with a window haphazardly placed in it. It looks like a watch, and it just simply using this style of display. This Braymont here we're looking at, or that Cartier, it doesn't look better than the regular Terra Nova in the case of the Braymont, and that's really, the bar was low. And then the Cartier, the Tank's a lovely watch. Who looks at the one with the little windows and said this is better? Um, this Moser here, little windows, but at least they're doing something a bit more intricate with the display. There's a crystal and moving things under it. When it's just a flat piece of metal, it's so uninspiring and it almost looks unfinished. And rarely are they less expensive than the normal one with the dial. So it's just like you're paying more for nothing better. It's not functionally better. It's not aesthetically better. I guess it's a bit more unique, but now, as we've just seen, like 4 different things that kind of just look like the same, and I don't love any of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uglier, illegible, and not technically interesting most of the time.
Okay.
Look,
That's a
there's
good
two.
summary.
There's two more coming out within the next week or two, I think.
Okay.
That you'll see that they're even fancier, but they still utterly fail. And you look at it, and you're like, "What? Did you just do this because you thought Cartier wasn't? This is the popular thing to get consumer attention." Like it's so clearly follow the leader without anyone actually saying, "Okay, guys, let's do this." They're just not nice enough. And
I
they're
am
illegible.
not aware of the watches you're speaking about, but are they jump hour watches? Is this a jump hour thing?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm not sure if they operate that way or if it just sort of wanders.
All right,
You know,
okay.
that let's put it this way: that wouldn't save them.
Not saved by the jump hour. Okie dokie. Right, let us do a couple of hit miss maybes, and then we'll maybe do a watch you like, because we have some sweetie impact. And actually, maybe we'll do this as a hit miss maybe, because it is a kind of similar. It is a jump hour watch, just released by Christopher Ward. Christopher Ward brings back the JJ01 with the C1 Jump Hour Mark 5. Yeah, not sure what to make of this. It's their first Jump Hour watch back. Again, they did have the collab with Fears that was also a Jump Hour, which they appear not to be including in the catalogue of when did we last produce a Jump Hour. It is 39 mil across, 47.3 lug to lug. It's quite a neat and tidy little watch. I think it's reasonably thick, 14 mil thick. Some nice pastel colours for the release. I'm not sure what else. Gentlemen, have you had a chance to read this at all?
How much is this thing?
This is, okay, you know, when I first looked at this, I thought, let's change it from guess the price of the Seiko to guess the price of the Christopher Ward, because it's beginning to feel like that kind of brand that you can look at a watch and go, I actually have no idea how expensive that is. It could be less than £1,000 or it could be $5,000. So guess the price then of this Jump Hour from Christopher Ward. What do you reckon, Ariel?
4,000.
Okay, Ripley?
2,300.
Yeah, I think Ripley, you're closer. It is 29,295 on the leather and 3,165 on the 5-link bracelet.
Oh, $3,000. Okay.
It's $3,000 for a Christopher Ward. I just think I mean, I appreciate everything they do. They make a nice watch. but I still think they're getting into the drift that is we want to do more and more nicer things. We've got the ability to do it. These things cost more money, therefore our prices are going up. And I think they're losing folk, beginning to lose folk at the bottom end, which I still think is where they make all their money, except for the whole kind of bel canto, which I think was maybe a one-off thing. I'm not sure that it can repeat that, the remarkable trend that was for brief. I don't know if it's still selling quite as well. But my fear is if you have too many expensive Christopher Wards, then folk aren't going to feel bizarrely that the ones at the cheaper end are actually worth the money, because you just feel like you're buying a cheap watch. You don't feel like you're buying an expensive looking watch at a bargain price, because you're on the same website seeing what looks like a similar kind of watch to a non-expert at £4,000 or at £3,000, as well as the one you're looking at, which is 800 quid. And you might not be a sophisticated enough buyer to understand one's quartz, one's got a particular movement, and one's had all this hand working to, or got a specialist thingamajig in it. And so I'd be really interested to see what the trend in purchasing is Christopher Ward over the next 2 or 3 years, because I think this venturing into much more expensive models, I'm not sure it's the way I'd go. But it's not my business, and he's got loads of money, so what does he care? But
Yeah,
the question
I
is,
think part of the reason why stuff like the Bel Canto and Loco were so well received was because the brand had already developed a really strong following and a reputation for delivering good value at the
yes,
sub $2,000, sub $1,000 price
Mhm.
point. And so it's like, well, great. If that was that good for $1,100, what would a $4,000 watch be like? And
Mhm.
you look at the Bel Canto and the Loco, and they both look really striking for a Christopher Ward. This it's different, you get the jump hour and it looks a little different than a normal watch, but there isn't anything so outspokenly it doesn't ding, the balance
I-
wheel's not on the dial side of it. It just feels a little bit more conventional.
Mhm.
But part of the magic of those was when you space them out a little bit, and it's that brand who does really good work below 2,000 doing something at 2+ times that price.
Mm.
It's, oh, that's cool. That's a cool thing for us to get a hold of. When
Yes,
that becomes the kind of the bread and
the
butter,
norm.
yeah, then the other ones just become kind of the underbidders for that, for the
Mhm.
person who's priced out of your main ones you're putting the attention to. But I'm I was really excited to see the Bel Canto when it first came out. First time I saw it in the metal. I haven't seen one of these in person, and I'm not going to be trying too hard to see one. Of
Mhm.
course, if I see it at Wind Up or something, I'll take a
Mm.
look. But like, I don't have that same eagerness, and I can't imagine I'm the only person who feels that way.
Yeah. Okay, so is it a hit, a miss, or maybe? 1, 2,
Oh God.
3, go.
Oh,
I've still not moved my notices through from my other office, from our studio. It's a maybe. I'm not sure what Ripley's holding up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was
I'm not
holding up
sure
the wrong. I
either.
was holding up the.
Signs.
I was
He's,
holding up the wrong one.
So it's maybes
He's
all
all
around.
discombobulated tonight.
Yeah,
Ariel, why is it a maybe from you?
I see a particular type of like vintage American car enthusiast, like 1950s and 60s
Mm.
cars, that can see similarities between this and certain dashboards and things like that. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that it doesn't say Christopher Ward on it in any obvious way. And before Christopher Ward came out with this module, which again is not new, you really only had a very inexpensive and smaller Chinese module, or a much more expensive kind of Swiss one to do this. And I do like the sort of jumping hour with somewhat larger aperture, because a watch like this can be the exception to that, dial with little windows. It's hard to read. This theoretically can be better, and I think Gerald Genta proved that with a lot of the watches that they did. This was supposed to be a platform where Christopher Ward could do that kind of Gerald Genta-y kind of stuff, where you have that traditional minute hand. I don't think it's retrograde. I think it's just a standard one, and this jumping hour. They didn't do too much with it. I don't know why. I think it was just kind of expensive compared to what people wanted to pay for. So there's a lot of detail in the style. This is not an inexpensive hand. There's some pretty good finishing on here. I don't find it amazingly captivating. It looks unfinished. It looks like it's part of something else, you know. But if you are that enthusiast of that sort of like, 50s appliance look, you're gonna like this. It might remind you of a, I don't know, an oven you have or something. Um, so on that end, I'm not against it. Does it turn me on? No. And in general, do I understand some of the appeal of the Christopher Ward brand? I did 20 years ago when I first learned about it. But they have this personality now, which is not real. Like people think they're a startup micro brand and they're not. And I'm very confused about the entire enterprise. But again, I'm open minded. And I think there's place for this to exist, but I don't actually know if it fits into the brand.
The fact that it has not even got a logo on the dial side, except that makes it quite clean, but and it's just got the logo on the crown.
I mean, they've changed their logo so many times. Let's not
Yeah, who
commit.
knows?
We don't know if it's going to change again by the time the dials get fitted to the
I
watches.
just wonder if this kind of no logo thing, okay, it might be okay for Moser when you're spending 40 grand and anyone in the watch world, but I just feel it makes, this is a maybe for me, because I just feel it feels cheap. It feels cheaper than the price point. It doesn't feel like a bargain.
It
just by
wouldn't look
looking
better
at
with
it.
Christopher Ward stamped below the window.
It probably wouldn't. That's probably not. I don't know. There's just something that just doesn't hold. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just the overuse of crystal and the kind of slightly floating hand. I kind of get it. But maybe in the metal, it would feel impressive. I think it's quite thick, so maybe it'll feel like it's got a bit of heft to it and a bit of mass that maybe makes it feel a bit more luxurious. It doesn't feel like a $3,000 worth of investment in a jumper, especially with all the other jumpers that are kicking about. But at least unlike the Cartiers and all the rest of it, it isn't just dominated with lots of little windows. There's just one window. Well, it does remind me a little of that BB-8 from Star Wars with the little thing on the top and the little head and then the round body. Ripley, you gave it a maybe?
Yeah, I'll reserve my final judgment till I can see it in person.
Mm.
They don't put a logo on their kind of Halo piece watches. The Belcanto, the Loco, this one don't have it. And I get the thought process is if you make a distinct enough design, people recognize it as yours. Several brands do that. But with this one, I don't really know if I would categorize it as their design. I can think of a few other watches that sort of check similar aesthetic boxes. So I don't know if it's as successful in this instance. Among those three, like the Loco, the Belcanto, and this one, this is my least favorite. I like that they loomed that hour disc. That's a good call. I don't know what those little balls are on the minute track. Like that thing between 5 and 10 that looks like it would have an importance that isn't.
At 7.5, because the minute you're really looking for is when it's 7.5 minutes past something.
Those would be like the securing bolts. Again, they're just taking this from like dashboard instruments that would need those.
They could just have glued them. They could just use glue.
I don't know. It looks like they should do something, but they don't. Again, it looks nice. I like the case back. Having a physical hand and a crystal over the dial kind of eliminates that issue with the little windows thing we were talking about earlier. But this one doesn't make me want to rush out and see it in the same way that the Belcanto and the Loco did. And I don't own either of those watches, but I really was eager to see them in person. And this, I kind of already know what it's going to be like without seeing it. It doesn't have quite the same complexity. It'll probably be nicer in the metal than it looks in photos. But with this, I mean, this isn't where I'd spend $3,000 in Christopher Ward's catalog. I'd get like 2 or 3 of the entry-level watches or just shell out a little more for a Belcanto.
Yeah. And this is what they're doing. You see, we're on their website now for those watching on the internet. This is what they're calling their Atelier collection. This is how they're distinguishing. I wonder...
Is it like Timex Atelier?
Timex is Christopher Ward Atelier.
I wonder whether the strategy here is that sometime over the next wee while, you're going to see the name Christopher Ward dropped from anything to do with this Atelier collection, and it's going to be pushed into its own thing, CW Atelier, and actually the name Christopher Ward will disappear, and this will almost become like
Grand Ward.
the Grand Ward.
Big
Yes.
Chris.
Big. I think that. I think that's a reasonable strategy. Bearing in mind that the fight, the guy Chris Ward hasn't been with the business for years. I think this might be an interesting way of them losing that name. And if I guess if you were putting down a 10-year plan, you'd say let's get the Atelier collection off the Chris Ward brand, call it whatever they're going to call it, and then 5 or 10 years later, bring the Chris Ward brand into the new brand that's been created under the Atelier collection in order to make it look like the budget versions of whatever that brand becomes, and so reverse engineer it. And so in 10 years' time, Chris Ward as a thing no longer exists. I could see that as a strategy which would make some degree of sense for them. So but let's see. But
Thank you. I was amused by that. Thank you.
It's Chris Ward, so who knows what might happen in the next wee while with our branding.
I think they're just going to rename it to the Atelier.
The Atelier. Yeah. Well, let's. What else could you call it? The local. What else have they got? The 12. You could call the company 12.
There's a lot to do with Batter. David von Batter. The Batter bracelet, the Batter light catcher. They've got a lot of terms in their vernacular that's been expanding.
They've got other stuff they could use. So yeah, I'd put not a lot of money, but I'd put a little bit of money on that's where the strategy is going in 5 years' time.
I mean, look at a lot of the Korean automotive manufacturers. They've broken out their like flagship lines.
Yes.
It's still produced by Hyundai, but it's just known, the Hyundai badge isn't on it, just as Genesis. And I could kind of see that. You'd be cheapening the Belcanto to say Chris Ward on it, because Chris Ward's what people think of for the $1,000 watches. So it's just Belcanto by Chris Ward.
Now you're getting my hopes up that Zenith will just rebrand to El Primero. It's really what I want the brand to be called.
And Panerai to just whatever the one watch that they make that anybody buys.
Oh, you want to rename Panerai?
Yeah, why not?
What's more simple than Panerai?
No, fair enough. Right. Favre. Is that how you pronounce this? I've never really been quite clear in my mind.
You can call it whatever you want.
Panerai. Right. Favre Sea Sky Revival Review, a satisfying retro hybrid sports watch in brown. I like a brown watch, has to be said. I think brown watches are actually quite nice. What's the kind of starting price on this watch then, Ariel, after you reviewed? There was a hands-on review that you had of this one.
So I'll get to the price. It's $5,000, which is ironic because between the first time we wrote about it, which was earlier in the year, to now it went up like $700 or $800 maybe.
Oh, jinx. Okay.
But that was, there was a whole tariff in there, so you can't entirely blame them. This is one of the launch collections from the relaunch Favre Luba. They have the Chief models. They had what was the Deep Blue Diver, which is now something Diver, and the Sea Sky. The Sea Sky is a remake of a watch from the history of the brand, or some of the brand's long history. You can see that they've been making some type of timepiece since 1737. Wow.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that Favre Luva themselves were like, oh, you like that one? Oh, that's just the watch to sell. Meaning like it's just something to look good in stores that, they think will do well. It's kind of got a good vintage retro vibe to it, even though it is a real remake of a watch. But I was like, no, this is the one I like. And they're like, really? Like they were surprised I was like as into it as I was. And the brown one, as you identified, has a really nice color. It's kind of a little bit reddish, and they match, and it's hard to match actually, kind of, so it looks nice. The dial changes color a little bit in the light, so some of the pictures it doesn't really look like it matches, but it really does in person. So the dial, the brown ceramic bezel, and the strap. It's 40 millimeters wide. It's a bit on the thicker side, but I love the proportions. I just found myself really liking this watch. So like if you just saw the pictures of it or like read the specs on paper, you're like, what's the big deal? But sometimes you wear a watch and it just has a satisfaction to it that really sold it for me. So I think one of the interesting contention points in the article after we published it was the price, and everyone like seems like it's so high, and then they realized like, oh my god, these days that's not actually that high. even with the price increase, given what's out there. So that goes back to the other conversation. But again, a couple of years ago, we would have been like, yeah, $5,000, that's a lot. Now you're like, that's what this costs now. That's the Favre Luva Sea Sky Revival.
Cool. It's frightening, really, the price of these things. I don't know how we got into this. Right, a hit misser, maybe. 1, 2, 3, go. Hit for me. Oh, hits all round. So, Ripley, why is it a hit for you?
I like these. I've had a chance to see several of the different colorways in person. As Ariel said, they're not especially thin, but they do wear nicely. It's a chunky sport watch. It says sea and sky. They're not even committing themselves to just one of the elements.
See,
and so
Bremen, that was what you needed to do. You just needed to get all the words in.
Land, sea, sky dweller. But it's this multi-purpose chunky sports watch. There's a lot of different info and scales on it, and it sort of fits with that sort of chunkier vibe. Again, $5,000, it's a lot. You can certainly get a mechanical chronograph for less, but then again, what used to be $5,000 at the Breitling boutique, you could have a wealth of models. That does not get you much there anymore. And so for someone who wants that sporty Swiss chronograph, I think this is kind of a great alternative. They're really well done. They're nice. It's not an obvious brand too. So I feel like one of the things I like about it is it looks nice. It feels nice. Good history on the brand, despite being not continuous. But it doesn't come with any mental baggage. It's not like Rolex where you say the name or someone looks at it and they're going to have opinions one way or the other. It's a little bit agnostic. It has an interesting history. You get some interesting colors like this brown one that you're not going to see. It's not just like the black blues. And then if you don't like this one in particular, a lot of their catalog, I feel very similarly about it. Might not be the best value, but it's actually quite nice when you see it. So I like this. Honestly, you can spend $5,000 in way worse ways on a chronograph. So I think these are pretty cool.
Yeah, Favre Luva website. It's worth a wee squiz around to see what else they do.
You need to trademark that.
Squiz around.
Yeah.
That's Christopher Ward's new brand, the Squiz.
Oh, Deep Raider. That's what they called it. So from Deep Blue to Deep Raider.
Yeah, there we go. So
they had a whole legal battle and everything. That's a whole
with the film?
No, with the brand, the watch brand in the US, Deep Blue.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool.
Got a
well, there
bit
we
pissed
go.
off.
So, Ariel, why was it a hit for you fundamentally?
I just found it very satisfying. I don't have the watch in my possession anymore, and I miss it. I wore it a lot. I think that's one of the things I like about reviewing a lot of watches is I can't predict in advance. There's certain watches that I'm drawn to and then I won't wear, and other ones where I'm drawn to and I do wear, and ones I'm drawn to and I don't wear. And what you really learn, and I'm sure Ripley can second me on this, is you really learn what you like when you have the option to wear a bunch of stuff. And there's 10 watches on the table. You're like, oh, I'm picking that one again. I wonder why. Is it because it's comfortable? Is it because I read this? You start asking yourself these questions about it. And for me, the Sea Sky Revival ends up being very well rounded. It's very universal. It looks nice, but it's well rounded. It looks good in a lot of situations. The genericism kind of works for it. And again, the color, the other colors they make are actually nice, but I just happen to really fall in love with that color. And I don't even think they thought I would like it as much. That's why it was funny. They're kind of surprised. They're like, oh, you're not into the Chief as much? It's like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to insult your more distinctive shape, but I'm really into this. So anyways, that's why I liked it.
Good stuff. I like it because it's brown watch. I quite like brown watches. Right, let's move along. It's time for Ariel's favourite game, which is Watch You Like. And we didn't get. I was expecting.
Can we review movies like we talked about? I saw Predator.
Well,
come on.
Oh, is it any good?
Oh yeah,
Quick.
A little generic, formulaic, really good. Watches. He touches his wrist gadget a lot. Does that count?
Oh, the exploding watch.
No, that's only the original one. They haven't done the explosion. There's other things it does.
So, in honor of Jay Leno, we decided we would use his maternal hometown of Greenock. The most famous product out of Greenock is from a company called Golden Casket, which is a type of sweetie or candy, as you would call it over there.
Didn't we do this last time?
Well, no, we discovered the website. We didn't actually, and we talked about Hoik balls and Fudgy Wudgy, but we didn't actually select a watch that went with it. So your choices today then is from Hoik balls. So Hoik balls are described as buttery sweetness, minty strength, and rugby soul, because Hoik is a
I
place.
have no idea
Can
what
we
that
all
tastes
agree
like.
just not to use Bremont as an answer for anything? Just from the start,
Okay,
doesn't
right,
matter
from the
how
start,
much
we're not allowed to
Bremont
use
screams to you.
We're not
Don't
allowed
say
to use
Bremont.
Bremen. We're not allowed to use Panerai, and we're not allowed to use Hublot. They're banned. Okay, so you got to choose something which is going to be most difficult for me. So Hoik, how? Okay, so first of all, how would you pronounce that without me saying what it actually says? Hoik, Hawick. If it was to give you that word with no, how would you pronounce that?
Hawick, brother of
Hawick.
John Wick.
Yes, well, it's Hoik, which is famous for rugby, which is a sport for men. So
Men who hate armor.
men
who
hate
hate
armor.
safety.
Yes, men who have no fear. So Hoik balls. The question is,
They're
what
mint
watch-
flavored.
Mint flavored.
They're mint flavored. Those brown, hard looking,
Yeah.
chestnut looking things are mint flavored.
They're
I think
mints.
if a
Yes.
concussion was a candy, it would look like this.
Old-fashioned peppermint sweets. So buttery sweetness and minty strength. Which watch brand or watch does that make you think? The sweetness of a watch, but it's strong inside.
It's like a
don't know.
weird German sport watch maker. It's like a Damasco or something. I
A
don't know.
Zinn. Buttery
No,
sweet.
Zinn
No,
what's
does not
the,
have. Is nothing minty
there's no
about
sweetness.
Zinn. Let's
There's
be
no
honest.
sweetness about Zinn.
Buttery maybe, sweet a little, but minty.
Minty.
what's that like dressy chrono that Zinn makes? The
Oh, they did have one that was minty color, but still.
What about something that's mint coloured? But strength. Who makes mint color? The problem is it's going to end up being Hublot, isn't it? There's who makes
What's like
a
just
watch?
what's big but also buttery? That's a hard one.
wait,
Big
are they
but
buttery
buttery.
or minty? I'm so
It
confused
says
about what
buttery in the
this-
description.
Buttery
Buttery is-
sweetness, the sweetness of.
By the
I don't
way,
really
it's-
think of
I never
butter as
like
being
have butter and
sweet.
think to myself, boy, that's
Oh,
sugary.
how sweet! That's
Yeah.
sweet, buttery sweetness and minty strength. So
Like
maybe
compared to the sour butter, maybe, but
who has
So-
really confusing press releases where you have no
well,
idea what they're talking about? That
no,
might be.
surely
all
Grand
the French
Seiko.
brands.
Grand Seiko.
No, I know exactly what they're
No,
talking about.
that's
It's either
the
the
problem.
water or
It's
the
not
mountain.
like what they're talking about.
Mount Elati. Okay.
Hermé.
Hermé,
Hermé has
that's
the
a good
most
shout.
confusing press release.
Well, there's a
I guess
horse,
so.
so Hoik Balls has a
Oh,
horse
it's
as its
Hermé.
symbol.
We
It's
figured it out.
Hermes.
Yeah,
Hermes,
that's
right?
the one.
Sold. That's it. So, I mean, I'm hoping that if we just get Jay Leno to communicate with us, then I'm sure I can contact the guy who owns Golden Casket, who I know, and we'll get like a care package sent across. So
I need to try this. None of these three lines give me any inkling. The first two words contradict each other. Then we get into minty strength and rugby soul. Is that about the flavor?
And why do you hate people's teeth?
It's a smell of soil in your mouth as you get tackled to the ground and face planted, or you.
Oh, does it cause internal bleeding like a good
yeah
hit
in
for
a
rugby? Okay.
scrum, and you're just smelling the armpits and crotches of those that you're scrummaging down with. Yeah, that's maybe
Eating
is
this
a bit of it.
candy is like feeling that.
It's like feeling that. Okay, next up, Fudgy Wudgy. Okay, smooth eating fudge bar. So smooth, chewy fudge bars crafted to the highest standards. Light, creamy, individual. Their unfairly addictive taste. I think that's the thing.
Unfairly.
I think that's what we're hanging our hat on. What is the unfairly addictive taste?
I like how they can't just say it's
watches?
an unfairly addictive taste. They have to end it by saying, and that's what makes them good. Because you're clearly confused. Is this a good
All right,
thing?
okay. So it's a product that it's a watch brand that has to over-explain itself. It thinks that what it does makes it good, but it then has to point that out to everybody that that's what makes it good.
MoonSwatch.
MoonSwatch. MoonSwatch. Yep, it's.
Rick, are
I,
these actually oh, it's vegetarian. I guess that works for
Mhm.
bioceramic too. But are these actually good? Have you tried a fudgy wudgy?
I have never tried a fudgy wudgy in my fudgy wudgy life.
So maybe this
No.
is like the Blancpain. They say they're popular, the Blancpain swatch, but I don't see many of them out in the wild in the same way I do moon swatches.
Yeah, and then it has to point out that it's a standout product, but I don't know. It feels more like breggy or something. It has to say, "Yeah, we're really, really good." And by the way, we're the original, and that's what makes a stack. Like it has to over. It has to. It can't just let the
No
press
one's
release.
ever been addicted to buying Breguet Marines.
Yeah,
Okay,
true.
let's not. This
True.
is not a Breguet.
Yeah, okay, not a Breggy. Moonswatch
Gotta
isn't a
get
bad
another
shout.
Marine.
Blancpain Moonswatch isn't a bad shout, to be fair. So
It seems to be too bland to be like a G-Shock. G-Shock has a wild diversity. This seems to be just chocolate flavored.
The Japanese would
okay.
never apologize for addictiveness. Okay, ever. Pokemon never said sorry. We got your kids hooked. Okay, never gonna happen.
Fair enough. And then there is the Buchanan's brand, which you can see all of these various types of sweet in a bag, from mint crumbles to dark chocolate caramels and forest fruit jellies. So either this is select one, or I think actually this is like the brand with too many SKUs. Everything looks exactly the same, but just the color's different, which obviously led me to Grand Seiko.
Oh, you can't say Hublot Master of Sapphire series?
No, Hublot's banned from this conversation, as is
Oh.
Panerai and Bremen. Otherwise, everything just defaults to Hublot.
Casio G-Shock 2100 series.
Why not?
Ooh,
Why
like
not
that.
Remember when Nomos came out with the same watch in all those
Nomos.
colors?
Yes, the no. That's it. That's the. You're bang on the money there. This is no, because the colors ever so slightly different. So like toffee center buttermints, and then there's a peppermint cream, and it's basically the same green, but it's not.
Well, and then you also have butter toffee. Okay, yeah, this is Nomos, where it's like, do you want green and brown? How about brown and green? How about brown and light green? Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, this is that one
Yeah, you
from
see
like
this
Watches of
game.
Wonders 2 years ago.
Yeah, this game does have value. See, I told you. I mean,
Rarely.
it takes a long time to get there,
It
but
really
occasionally
long time.
it
Just
has
put
value.
up with it for about 17 episodes, and there'll be this 3 minutes, and then
We'll
oh,
get there.
How many
Okay.
have toffee in it?
Well, it's a Scottish addiction, is toffee.
Oh.
So, yeah, they all
I
have
thought it was
toffee.
fudgy wudgies.
Well, that's also a kind of toffee, is it not? Licorice toffee, treacle toffee, that mixes your treacle and toffee. Vanilla fudge, it's kind of toffee. Dark chocolate
what
caramels,
naturally
kind of
melts
toffee.
toffee? Because I don't think like whiskey does.
The
Like
human mouth.
the human mouth. Okay.
Chewing it. That's the hence the reason for all the bad teeth. Okay, right. So that then leads us, and seeing as you're the one doing most of the complaining, Ariel, you can choose the films for next week. We will try and link it into watches, but if you just want to review 3 films, just give us
The
your 3
best
favorite films.
on-screen watch appearances.
But
Best
by the
on-screen
way,
watch.
I was
Mhm,
just thinking this, and
mhm,
because last week I took my son to see Back to the Future in the movie theater, the original one, because it's out.
Yes.
And I hadn't actually seen the thing all the way through in a long time. It's the kind of movie like once you see it, like, yeah, I know the plot, but there's a lot of amazing details, especially in the
Yes.
first one.
Yeah.
And for me, that is the best movie for watch lovers because it so makes you feel positive about being obsessed with time. The characters are obsessed with watches. There's clocks everywhere. They keep mentioning time. It's just if you need a movie validation to make you feel that this is the right hobby for you, just watch Back to the Future again. Look very carefully at all the things in the background, all the different watches of different types, even the small watches that he uses in the models of the clock tower and stuff like that. It's just all over the freaking place. Yes, I have an article on this.
It's playing volume. I need to switch the volume off. There we go.
I challenge anyone to see the original Back to the Future and be like, no, RL, you're wrong. This is not a great movie for watch lovers.
Okay, so Back to the Future as a
Am I
movie
off the
for
hook
watch
now?
lovers.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, but well, no, you need to. We'll review the movie and the watches therein. 2 other movies.
Well, there's a sequel in the third one, so
Back to Future 2 and
I'm
Back
gonna
to
be
Future
very
3.
lazy.
Okay. Well,
And
you
they'll
asked
throw
for
the
it.
cartoon in there, and I'm sure there's gonna be some remakes at some point. I mean, Ghostbusters had like 3 more movies. I mean, come on.
Okay, we will have a look at the watches of Back to the Future this time next week.
And I had to do a bunch of research for that article that I don't think published yet on that Casio calculator one.
No, it's not out. It's not out just yet, but I look forward to that. Right, let's touch on. Let's see what's live on the website right now. Something we'll just have dropped. The Frederick Constant Classics Premier Review, a sensible amalgam of dress watch styles. To conclude, Ariel, tell us a little bit about this, the article that's just dropped on the website in the last few minutes.
So, from a positioning standpoint, this is kind of interesting because Frederick Constant has their own in-house made movements, which they refer to as the manufacturer collection. This watch has not that. I think this watch has a Le Jouperet movement in there, so it's part of the group. It's this is Frederick Constant making a mainstream watch.
Mhm.
It's comfortable and nice looking, but there's nothing about it which is original, and I almost laugh about how unoriginal it is. The bracelet, the case, the hands, the hour markers, like it's all parts bin, and that's why I called it an amalgam, because it really is just like a mixture of things. It ends up being satisfying. So, from a commercial perspective, this is like totally sellable, very comfortable, makes sense, isn't like wildly expensive, like looks the part. I think it's like just over $2,000.
Mm.
So again, for watch lovers, again, if this if the Timex is too cheap and you want to get a nicer gift, this one will satisfy. This is just sort of good for the Frederick Constant brand. And, going back to the Christopher Ward model, this is not their loco. This is not their jumping hour. This is the one that you see that Halo watch. You're like, oh, this looks sensible. I'll get that.
Mm. Cool. Ripley, your first impressions of this?
I've seen this one in person. I own a Frederick Constant. One was given to me after I graduated college by a good friend of mine, and I wore it constantly. It's a simple dress watch, and it had a very stinky strap by the time I was finished with all the national parks in it. I saw this one in person. It's quite nice. It has a couple things that just make me want to. If you just change these two things, I would think it was tangibly better. First of all, just take the Jubilee bracelet off, give that back to Rolex, and just put anything else on it. It just doesn't really jive with the rest of it, the Breguet numerals and all that. I don't like the bracelet. It's not a bad bracelet. It's not poorly constructed or anything. And for, as Ariel mentioned, going for more the mass market crowd, people want the bracelet. It makes sense. I just wish they'd done a bit more of an original design. And then the minute hand is so undersized. It's nowhere. It is just nowhere even close to the minute track. And if they had just icked it out a little bit more, I would have been a lot happier. But it's not a bad looking watch. It's as Matt said, an amalgam of a lot of different familiar styles, but they could have put those same design cues together in a much less cohesive manner. So if someone gave me this watch, I'd probably take the bracelet off and wear it quite happily on a strap.
Good stuff. Right. Well, go and check out that newly dropped article on Frederick Constant on the website. Our show is just about concluded for the day, but if you are brave enough to go to the Blog to Watch Weekly Live channel or the Blog to Watch channel and click on the live button, you might be able to catch hold of some extra time, which we will now proceed to do while we say goodbye to all you regular listeners on Spotify, Apple, or the edited version on their Blog to Watch YouTube channel. That sounds simple enough? That makes sense? No? Quite a lot going on there. Quite a lot of heavy
Do it
lifting
again
going on
if
there. No, let's not do that. Let's just say goodbye. Thank you all very much for listening. We will speak to you all again in a week or so's time. Cheerio.
Bye, everyone.
And we welcome those who have maybe been brave enough to tune in for some extra time. Okay, so tell us what you really think about auctions, Ariel.
I honestly don't ever want to hear about them anymore.
What was the
I feel
last
like they're an
watch
invasive parasite into this hobby.
What was the last watch auction you went to? Either of you?
Why would I go to one?
No, but you must have been to one in the
eBay.
past.
I sat
eBay.
there patiently waiting to see myself get outbid in the last
Yeah,
5 minutes. Yeah.
isn't
I
that
mean,
annoying?
yeah, I mean on eBay stuff a lot, but like those rooms where you sit in there, that's just grotesque. I don't
How
want
is
to.
it?
It's like I feel that when people
Mhm.
buy things, it's a very personal thing. It's kind of like being in a room with a bunch of people, like with their pants down. Like it's very exposing, and
You're clearly going to the wrong kind of auctions.
and the
If
whole idea that you would bid more because someone else in the room has, and you want to
Mhm.
like one up them, is like the antithesis of how you get a good deal, and that
Yes.
works again in favor of the auction house and not the person buying.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
sort of like the wrong place for anyone that actually cares about buying things. It's the right place if you want to be
Launder
seen
money.
buying things, which tends to imply you could care less about what it is you're buying. I just I I have some friends that work in the watch auction world and they're nice people, but it's also an area that attracts the absolute creepiest, sleaziest segments of this industry. I have not met a group that attracts more sketchy individuals than the auction scene, and that and again that is a serious saying in the industry that is known for all kinds of criminal and corrupt actions in the selling of watches through the retail, even the brands, even the designers. Everyone in this industry is somewhat of a pirate. So to say that the auctioneers are actually the worst, that's an impressive feat of superlative achievement that they should not be proud of. But I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you feel
Well,
like it's a good, cozy environment.
other than actually selling illegal goods like drugs, is there a generally more sketchy industry than the watch industry?
Arms.
Well, okay, selling weaponry. Okay, yeah, okay. So we've got arms dealers.
People,
Then what?
organs.
No, but that's illegal already. It's not actually
Well,
illegal to
it
sell
depends where we're
weapons.
talking about where it might be illegal. This is
Okay,
now getting into some gray
in
area.
in your country and in my country, it's illegal. Selling watches is not
We're gonna
yet
check back in
illegal.
6 hours and see what's new in our country.
I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. In my country, it's illegal and likely to stay illegal. So you've got arms dealers, then watch dealers, then I don't know, estate agents. I don't
My
know.
issues with it aren't necessarily just the shadiness, as Ariel mentioned. That's there's some questionable activities in various parts of this industry, but it just promotes the wrong thing for me. It if everything that came to market was like fresh to market and it was like unearthing these cool things, and that
Yes.
was where the emphasis was,
Mhm.
cool. But when
It's
it's
just
just
recycling.
basically recycling the same things, this one sold 10 years ago, now we sold it for more, it really just becomes the
Well,
glorification of the amount of money that's tied
Mhm.
up with it. And for me, that totally is not what's interesting about the watches. If if the Pateks were worth $5, that'd be awesome. I'd own
Mhm.
them. I don't.
Mhm.
$12 million is ludicrous. That's the only difference that makes me not care about that watch. It's because it costs multiple times the price of what a house should cost. And then to glorify that and then to make this like positive feedback loop of these things need to just keep appreciating, or it's not sustainable. It keeps the focus on things that aren't, that people aren't really interested in, that keeps the
Mhm.
things on the focus on things that are going to sell the most. But to
Mhm.
be honest, I've seen Patek 1518s. Yes, they're rare, but at the same time, this is a known quantity. um I want to see some interesting stuff that I haven't seen before, but that's not what's going to set the record. So I think it's bad for the hobby, just not necessarily because of the shadiness. I know plenty of good people that work in the auction industry, and if you
Mhm.
get a chance and you're in New York City with time to kill, go to Sotheby's and just walk around. It's like a little museum. It's awesome.
Mhm.
But if you're into the hobby because you like watches, as Ariel mentioned, buying them in an auction environment is probably the single best way to not get a good deal on that thing that other people are looking
Mhm.
at.
I mean, maybe they're missing a trick here, which is Phillips should be focusing, or the auction industry in general should be focusing on the fact that it's actually really upscale recycling. Maybe Greta Thunberg needs to be the poster child for the watch auction world and encourage that this is actually research rather than having to make moon swatches, whether they're made out of bioceramic or not. Actually, we should all be getting into the auction houses because it's just good environmental politics. No, I'm not, no
It's
one's buying. No one's
upcycling. I
buying. It's
took that
upcycling.
I took that ratty old mill sub and put a new mill sub dial in, and now
That's
it's
right.
worth more.
I
Look, let
hand
me
painted it.
clarify that auctions in general are not a bad thing.
Mhm.
It's a great way of selling things that there's only one of them, or you have no idea really what it's worth. And I love auctions in theory. I'm on eBay all the time. It's constantly auctions. So I like it in principle. Watch industry auctions or watch auctions that sort of focus on this category are a very different manifestation of the sort of purest concept of what an auction is supposed to be. And I really want to clarify that because I do love the concept of auctions, but they are misapplied and highly manipulated in this space. And that's really what bothers us.
Okay. Good. Right. Well, thank you everyone who stayed tuned in for that little extra rant on the world of the dedicated watch auction. And we will speak to you all again next week. Cheerio.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.